Today we are joined by Bob Gregg from Only Dads and Rebecca Giraud from Only Mums, who have Bob started Only Dads in 2007, having recognised a lack of dependable online information and support for families that were going through divorce and separation. And Rebecca joined with Only Mums in 2009. They're going to talk about the work that they do. We've had quite a long association with Bob and Rebecca. In addition to that, they've been responsible for publishing a book which we've advertised widely called 101 Questions Answered, which is in its second print run and which is highly regarded by parents, solicitors and courts. In fact, I was at a conference only recently where the president said what an important book it was for helping families. So I'm going to hand over to Bob and Rebecca now to talk about the work that they do at Only Mums and Only Dads.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Kind introduction. To take you back to the beginning, if I can, 2007, I'd finished a series of court hearings, divorce and Children Act proceedings with my then ex-wife. The whole thing was a nightmare, as it is for anyone listening to this who's experienced it. And coming out the other end, I started to look online to see what support there was for dads, and also to look for other information I had to do with the ongoing outcome of my case. In terms of support for dads, there was next to nothing. There were fathers' rights groups who were preaching a message which had no interest at all to my predicament. And in terms of information, the only page I could find was on a national charities website, and that was 8 or 9 sort of paragraphs about dads and children, and it was at least 2 years out of date. I was struggling in those days, Elizabeth. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Things were hard. I was looking after my 2 daughters at home. I really needed some support. And I did that thing which some people may relate to. You try and sort of, if it isn't there, you set something up. And I set up a blog, a forum called Only Dads, with the aim of allowing other men to make contact with other men who'd been through the system, maybe struggling in some way. And 2 things happened. The first, men started not chatting on the forum, rather coming directly to me with questions, usually legal in nature, or some kind of other emotional issue, largely revolving around not seeing their children. The other thing that happened, which continues to this day, is more mums were making contact with Only Dads than men. And I think it was a bit of an eye-opener that mums really struggle through this family court system too. Rebecca was introduced to me by a friend, and about 9 months after launching this forum, Rebecca and I met and had a sort of outline, broad brush discussion. We looked at the situation that divorce and separation impacts on mums, dads, and children. There seems to be, from my initial bit of evidence, a lack of support and direction. Some of the emails I was getting in those early days are heartbreaking. They continue to be so to this day. And we looked about setting up something a little bit more formal than a mere blog. And a year after that, we'd created our very first Only Mums and Only Dads websites. And the idea, Rebecca's idea, and it stands true to this day, is that this is only going to work if we form partnerships with people who can really make a difference. People like your organisation, NACCC. We got in touch with Resolution and other organisations to get their help in pulling together what we hope would be a sort of comprehensive, trustworthy, child-focused, politically neutral website. So you won't find, for instance, any fathers' rights campaigning on our websites or in any of our literature or in anything we do. Neither will we find, mums are the most important parent. It is mums, it is dads, and it's all about trying to work together, often when communication is broken down between the parties, and putting children first. The services we offer now, live chat, we offer a comprehensive website. You've already mentioned our 101 questions answered book. We've supplemented that with a COVID special, which I have a horrible feeling is going to come back into its own in the next few months. An email exchange service. Again, we continue to build on the partnerships we've already created. And more than anything else, what we try and do is keep all the information on our website up to date and written by the best possible professionals. Rebecca, I will have missed stuff and I've spoken too much.
I don't think so. I mean, just to reiterate, I think there are two things. One of the things we really work hard to is we are one organisation with two slightly different wings, but we're very much focused on mums and dads working together and how they can work together to support each other. So that's really important for us. And I think, looking back on when we set it up, it was about providing information that's accurate where possible, because as we all know, the internet is just replete with information and advice from so-called experts. And often that's wrong or misleading, can misguide people. So we were very concerned that whatever we put up was as accurate as possible, and we try and keep that up to date. And as Bob said, to make sure that we work closely with those organisations who are providing, the best support and advice for parents going through separation. So, all that was incredibly important. And the book was just a culmination of all those, most frequently asked questions, which we get day in, day out. And I think one of the things also we recognise is for lots of people, they don't know where to go in that first instance. It's really difficult. So, you've got your friends saying to you, oh, go do this, do that. But actually knowing where to go when you first start that journey, that separation journey, is so important, because as I will say in the office, if you take the M4, you could be in real trouble. Whereas if you take the M5, you may have a more considered, more thoughtful, more careful route, if you like, which will benefit your family and your children in the long run. But does that sound about right, Bob?
You're absolutely spot on, Rebecca. The only other thing I would add to that, apart from the initial direction, and I think without blowing our own trumpet, I think we've become really quite good at that. I think it's men especially, they get stuck. Very often we hear from men who, because they can't afford professional support, they can't afford to pay a solicitor, basically. There's no legal aid, or it's all but gone. They'll go into the court arena themselves, maybe getting advice from a Mackenzie, maybe not, maybe some other bod who's been through it, maybe a friend who has never been through it. And what they'll quickly discover is it is a complex legal system, and they get stuck. And one of the things I hope we've done through networking with our Resolution members and our family law panel is give them that ability to speak to a professional, not to get advice, just to unstick them, if that's a phrase, just to, again, pointing them in the right direction. And that's something I think we do rather well.
Yeah, no, I think the other thing we've done as well, I think more recently, sadly as well, the levels of inquiries that have an element of domestic abuse is rising. And that has been over the last few months, and sadly, I suspect it will continue. So we managed to persuade family lawyers to give a bit of time for those victims of domestic abuse so that they could bring them and just get a sense of what options are available to them, what they can and what they can't do, which is a small thing but really empowering for somebody who is stuck. And so we called it the Green Phone Initiative, and we have invited those who want to take part, and they've got a little green phone symbol so members of the public can find that really, really easily. Because one thing we found over the years is not everybody automatically goes to Women's Aid or the most, there's such a range of amazing support services for domestic abuse, but lots of people don't find them or don't want to go down that route. So we just, by offering that, we hope we're just offering another layer of support for people who are stuck and need to know maybe what they can or can't do, because that can be so empowering to enable someone to get out of a very difficult situation. So we've done that also recently, and that seems to be gaining momentum and has been very popular.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking that time to talk to us for our AGM. We know the content of this discussion will be of great use to our centres and the people who use it. In the description of this video, centres will find information about both of your guides, as well as links to access their own copies of these. So, whilst we were talking, I thought about some questions that I would like to ask you. I'm wondering if you could tell us a little more about the types of inquiries that you have been coming through to your service since lockdown, and whether these have changed greatly.
Okay, well, I'll start. I mean, the first, as we said, is the domestic abuse has definitely increased. That's being locked down and trapped, definitely. And the other one is perhaps also just as big, is issues around contact. So when you can and can't, and withholding contact. I think that has is definitely been a big issue. Would you agree with that, Bob?
I would. On the Only Dads front, from day one, and it continues to this day, we've had emails from dads who can't see their children or want to see more of their children. It's a consistent theme. The reasons for that vary, but the basic issue is there. The surprising one, the very first phone call my Only Dad's blog forum thing ever had was from a mum. I remember her. She was a mum in Merthyr, and she said, "You're a bloke. How can I get my ex to take a more active part in the life of our child?" And I'm going to be really honest with you, Elizabeth. Only Dads gets those emails year in, year out, and so I'm left with two broad areas. Dads who can't see their children, and mums who want to see dads see more of their children. And the two don't fit together very well, not in my head.
I think also during the pandemic that we've been encouraging people to use, or parents to use the Zooms and the phone calls more and more, when we've been really in lockdown, which I guess we may again. I mean, within the regional lockdowns, it may be very difficult. It is going to be difficult for people to visit grandparents and other relations. So once again, we're going to have to encourage that where possible.
Well, of course, they could get in touch with people who want contact of some kind, could get in touch with NAC and find out which centres are offering virtual contact, because although it's not as beneficial or as good as face-to-face, it will fill a bit of a gap and won't have the break in the contact that some have experienced.
No, absolutely.
I think it feels a really important gap.
It's really important. And Phil wrote a very good article on that in our little guide, which I hope people will find really, really useful, actually, for offering, other information and resources for parents.
Yeah, it will. So I'm wondering if you could also tell us a little about the Green Phone Initiative. How do you see this progressing? And I wonder whether you have any examples of where this has worked well.
Do you want to do that, Bob?
Yes. The last two cases I've dealt with have been put to the Green Phone, both from mums. We had one up in Scotland. She sent an email through. I shared it with Rebecca, we have this technique of sharing worrying emails with each other just to get a second view. There was every indication in the email that this woman was in serious danger of physical harm. She didn't say so, but the reading of the email just rang alarm bells. And we were able to, this is the joy of this system, immediately say to her, this is not going to cost you anything. Please speak to a domestic violence accredited specialist solicitor. Have a third opinion, if you like, from that solicitor, and get that immediate local signposting that I think that lady needed. The second one, but the one I was dealing with before this Zoom, again, is a mum who I don't think really understands the routes or the options open to her out of what is openly with her an abusive situation. And rather than just say, you must go to Women's Aid or you must go to your local refuge, it is a case of, I think she needs, again, just to better understand what options there are for her and her children. And I don't know that because I'm not a legal professional. But the joy of the green phone system is they can get through at no cost to individual solicitors who really do know their onions. And I think that's really important. How we see it growing, we've got 110-ish solicitors on board now. It would be good to get that up to 200 so that the whole of the UK is covered at a very sort of local level. DV is best dealt with very often at a local level because those solicitors will know the local resources and charities that can offer support.
Yeah.
Marketing the Green Phone Initiative with zero budget is a real challenge, Elizabeth, as I'm sure you'll know. We use social media and share it, and I know our friends on Twitter are very good at getting the word out as well. So, yeah, we survive on fresh air, basically, when it comes to marketing initiatives like this.
Yeah.
But they are so valuable. We occasionally write and ask the government for a bit of support, but never get it. So we'll do what we can.
Okay. Your guides have been immensely helpful to NAC and to our centres. And it was great to see how you rose to the challenge created by coronavirus and updating the guide to reflect this. I'm wondering how you see this developing and what the future of the guides might look like.
I think actually today we were literally saying we need to review the COVID one again, just to make sure it is absolutely, because it's an ebook as well, we can edit it quite quickly. So we were actually talking about that before we joined you. So we will review that and keep that fresh and make sure that's completely up to date and accurate and keep pushing that out. And as for the 101, which is our Bible, if you like, or our standard, again, well, we're looked, the second edition will come out in October, and that's been gone through completely, and there are some fresh few things we've taken up, and a few organisations we've had, yeah, that are same kind of questions we've had before.
Okay. So if you've got nothing else to tell us about, you can wrap that up and just say thank you once again for doing this for us.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you very much for all your support as well as an organisation. We really appreciate that, and I hope we do continue to do that for you too.
We'll continue to collaborate without a doubt.
Yeah.